Welcome to the Prop Drop. Tune in every week for the best prop bet picks and analysis across all major sports. Brought to you by WSN.com.
Hello and welcome to WSN's Prop Drop, where we talk the top props across the sports world: MLB, NBA, NHL, PGA, MLS, a little taste of everything. I'm Alece Anderson, joined as always by Ryan Sullivan and Adam Forsythe, and we're going to try to give you the best locks, most unique props, best parlays, teasers. Make sure to check out WSN.com and subscribe to the WSN YouTube channel. Kick things off this week with our biggest wins. What do you think?
Looking back at last week's episode, it's a joy.
I was not looking at it.
This is a very coronavirus-centric episode of Prop Drop because it's changing by the minute. When we're recording this, moments before we went on air, the NBA suspended their season. We're hearing rumors maybe the NHL is. It's chaos out there.
Yeah.
But that did not stop me from winning my best bet recap last week. And I don't want to say that's all I care about because that's very insensitive. But I am a winner. The stock markets may be crashing. Coronavirus may be causing chaos. But my stock is soaring after a huge golf victory this weekend. My best bet was Tyrrell Hatton to finish in the top 10 at the Arnold Palmer Invitational at odds of 6-1. And I added you should hop on him to win at 55-1. Well, our boy came through in the clutch, earning not only a top 10 finish, but a win as well. The last 3 weeks, I've advised you to make one top 10 pick on each golf tournament between 6-1 and 8-1 odds. Each one has hit. If you listened and paid about $100 for each bet, you'd be up nearly $2,000. Add to that Hatton's win this week. Even a small investment of like $10, which is what I did, $550 in your pocket. You multiplied your cash by 20. Let's keep this golf heater up. I'm fired up.
I gotta say, wow.
I'm fired up.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. And then outside of golf, smaller scale, but sure, a win's a win. I earned a big one with my XFL pick, not only correctly figuring out that New York would cover the 7.5-point spread against Dallas, but they would earn an upset win on the road. It was paying out at nearly 3-1. I cashed in on that. Mixed result on the tennis courts. All my picks in Davis Cup qualifying were victorious. The value wasn't exactly stellar. My biggest miss of the week, the WTA Monterey tournament favorite, Alina Svitolina, far from my favorite player, as she defeated Maria Buskova in 3 sets to earn the title. I had money on Buskova at 11-1, so I was that close to a win.
Wow. That's a hell of a start to the show there. You are absolutely
Fired up.
That's what happens when you get a guy at 55-1.
Not bad.
Yeah,
Not
fair.
bad. Very impressive stuff. Why don't we start with the biggest wins? We're going to start with the biggest wins there. Alina Svitolina, maybe not your cup of tea, Svitolina, but I was taking a drink, and it paid off. Not too bad. She started things out on the right foot. Monterey, WTA Tour stop, no problem. There's 1 for 1. India was crushed by Team Croatia at the Davis Cup. There's 2 for 2. Things kind of cooled off a little bit after that, though. And so, mind you, Atlanta won in the MLS, and New York Red Bulls with a draw, so they stay undefeated. So that futures bet is still intact. Also good to see, but yeah, things cooled off after that. So, of course, Dallas got their asses handed to them. So my XFL picks, they stay being god-awful so far. But I'm going to resurrect that this week. I'll get to that momentarily. But I also selected Hideki Matsuyama to win the Arnold Palmer. That did not happen. He came close. Tied for 56th, so it's not that close. Horrendous week on the pick front, no doubt, but things are going to pick up here. Of course, when it comes to the best bet, I improved to 9-2-1 through my last 12. No big deal. Who's counting? But then again, the last pick, of course, I did take Croatia in the Davis Cup, which I feel like that was an easy one. Like, that, it was a bit of a cop-out. These other ones I've been going, off the deep end. I've been making some beauty predictions. But that one was an easy one, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit this week.
It's no 55-1.
No.
It's not.
But this one is an absolute gem, all right? I am going to take Dustin Johnson, not to win the TPC, but to hit a ball in the water on the 17th hole at the TPC Sawgrass course. He's got 4 days to do it, suggesting he makes it to the final 2 days. But he's going at plus 300 right now on the field to plunk a ball into the drink. I'm taking DJ. He always looks like he's a little disgruntled. I don't like it. When he steps up to the tee, that means he's spraying, that means he's swaying, and it's going in the drink. I'm putting money down. Best bet.
Wow, that is awesome. So you got 2 guaranteed shots.
Yeah,
you got to hope that
exactly.
there's 4. So you didn't play bad enough to put a ball in the water on the first 2 rounds.
Exactly.
But I like it.
Yeah, I hope he moves on. I hope he makes the cut,
I don't even really want to talk about my biggest wins. It was a rough week for me. I literally spent the weekend cursing that guy because I was watching...
Tyrrell Hatton.
That's right. I was watching Hatton run away with the Arnold Palmer, and it was driving me crazy. Okay. The only win I had last week was my Davis Cup prediction. I chose Australia. I said they were going to cruise through Brazil. It wasn't quite a cruise. They did lose the doubles match. But a win is still a win.
100%.
And boy, do I need it. Biggest losses, I took Xander Schauffele at the Arnold Palmer, and that's a no. That's a no on that one. Although he did do better than yours because he tied for 24th.
Yeah, a lot of people did. 55 people did. So.
And then my best bet recap was terrible too. I was riding the excitement of Canadian Leylah Fernandez taking out Sloane Stephens in the round of 16. Unfortunately, she met Svitolina in the next round, and that ended her run. So
okay.
I got literally nothing to report, really.
That's okay.
Australia, Davis Cup, woo!
Not all bad though. We had a lot of action on the YouTube front this week. Very exciting stuff. We got Gustav Seberg,
Such a good name.
which I mean, it's so good that I almost think it's made up.
You're gonna have to confirm, Gustav.
Yeah, Gustav, we're gonna need
I
confirmation.
do like it's a theme on the
this
show
name.
where we question everybody.
Yeah, we do. We're not sure. Jude, guy, girl.
Yeah,
Guy.
Jude was back though. Parlayed all 9 NBA spreads. Hit everyone except for Indiana. It's a tough one, but not too shabby. Keep them coming. James Whitlock, Evan Henningsen. Keep them coming. Love the comments.
We do.
Good stuff. Yeah.
For our next broadcast, we want to hear from you. Did you agree with our picks? Where did we go wrong? And most importantly, give us your wildest prop predictions from any sport. And we promise to discuss the comments in next week's show. Be sure to like and subscribe for the most up-to-date prop predictions. Before we get to our prop selections for this week, for our listeners living in New Jersey or West Virginia, head over to WSN.com for special bonuses and deals. If you want to bet on this week's games, you can compare the best legal online sportsbooks and get exclusive offers when you sign up and start betting. All right, prop number 1. The number 1 team in the country, Kansas, is about to embark on the Big 12 Conference Championship tourney. Will they get knocked off their pedestal before March Madness hits?
I'm so happy that, because originally this prop was a little different, and because the Ivy League was the first to announce we're going to play in front of nobody in the stands. So I'm like, okay, what other stadium or what other tournaments are going to do this? And then all of that ended tonight, and we went with this prop. So probably a safe bet, probably a good call. But the only team that could bump Kansas off that pedestal here is number 5, Baylor. In that conference tourney, the Bears stunned the Jayhawks back in January, but Kansas hasn't lost since then, which is pretty crazy. But I do like Kansas getting through this tournament. I do like them remaining unscathed as they enter the March Madness tourney. Baylor needs to squeeze through either Kansas State or TCU in the early round, and then either Oklahoma or West Virginia after that to eventually meet Kansas in the semis. So a pretty rough road, a pretty tall task to meet a relatively unscathed giant in the Jayhawks. So I like Kansas to enter the madness ranked atop the country and keep that number 1 well intact.
Now, you guys just alluded to the prop that we had discussed and then had to scrap because all the gambling sites scrapped it, and that was whether there would be empty stadiums. Well,
Yes.
I jumped in on it 2 days ago.
Did you?
At plus 320 that there would be empty games for March Madness.
See, this is why you're grinning ear to ear tonight.
I'm loving life. I already have a bet win, and we haven't even finished the show. So that was
in
scrapped.
empty stadiums. Not bad,
Exactly.
buddy.
So that is just one of those situations where, I mean, obviously it is a horrible thing what's happening around the world, but this is going to sound very mean, but there's money to be made if you keep tabs on it and just jump in at the right time. As for this prop, I've said it before and I'm forced to say it again. Taking the betting favorite and not the sexiest pick, but it's often the smartest. I can't ignore Kansas, even if the odds are just minus 125 right now. The Jayhawks have a few hiccups early in the season, but since January 11th, they've ripped off 16 straight wins, as Sully mentioned, most of them coming in convincing fashion, solidifying their number 1 seed. If you don't like Kansas, the obvious pick is Baylor, as Sully touched on. They are responsible for the Hawks' last loss, by the way, but I don't really trust them. Teams are supposed to be rounding into top form ahead of March Madness. The Bears have dropped 3 of the last 5 games. That is not a good sign, so I will be taking Kansas as my pick.
All right. When the NBA season resumes, because as we heard just before we started shooting today, after the games scheduled tonight, hiatus. It's suspended. We have no other information, but updated odds are out there. And Rockets, Nuggets, and Utah Jazz are on the decline when it comes to who can challenge the Lakers. Fellas, do you see anybody stepping up to the bar to contend with the LA teams this year?
I would love to say yes, because just watching a LeBron James, Anthony Davis super team, it just irritates me. So I would love to say yes, but in the end, it's going to be, I feel, LA versus LA in that Western Conference. The Houston Rockets seem to be the best bet here. If you look at the odds right now, the Lakers are almost 1-1. They're paying plus 110. Clippers plus 200. Rockets are plus 800. So they are the next best bet there. But when it comes down to it, when your tallest guy is 6'7" in Robert Covington, you're getting murdered in rebounds. James Harden continues his overrated season, in my opinion. My 2 cents, of course. I don't see them being a major threat down the line. The Jazz, I love what they're doing. I love that team. Huge Donovan Mitchell fan, but I just don't see the consistency. That's been their Achilles heel all year. So I'm going to go with my long shot here. I'm going to give it to the Denver Nuggets. Always loved Jamal Murray going back to his Kentucky days. Nikola Jokic, when he's healthy, it's hard to find a better big man on that court. He is absolutely fantastic. Going through a bit of a haze right now, a bit of a down smell, but that's okay. He'll pick it up before the postseason, and he's probably going to have some more time to do so and get ready before that postseason. So anyways, when they get back going again, I think the Nuggets could contest. They pushed. They should have won that series last year against the Blazers, but dropped it in 6. So anyhow, I see the Nuggets maybe pushing it at least to like a game 6 or 7 to make it to that conference final series. And from there, who knows? But I'll go with the Nuggets as my dark horse. So there you go.
All right. Well, the whole coronavirus thing does throw it kind of up in the air because we don't know when the season is coming back. It will resume at some point. Ryan, you and I, we love to be combative on the show, right?
We do. We do.
I like to poke fun.
You do. You do.
But you have nailed your assessment here, buddy. From top to bottom,
Ooh.
I would be shocked if it is not the Battle of California when the West is won. Of the two, I actually like the Clippers over the Lakers. I feel like they're playing possum for much of the season. Lots of load management when it comes to Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. These two are game changers. I feel they can compete with LeBron James. So the Clippers would be my pick at plus 200. And again, Ryan, bang on with his long shot pick, finding plenty of interesting nuggets about this Denver team. The term sneaky good, very accurate descriptor for this one as well. They're young, they're talented, they can surprise. A solid pick if you're looking for an underdog.
When I kind of botched that and I said the Jazz, I saw you light up because you're gonna tackle me on that one, but no. Yeah. I think we have a Honda Accord here, the first Accord of the show. I think you're on the money.
Head to WSN.com for extensive odds and free picks for all major sports. Let's turn it over to golf, which is the thorn in my side these days, but the Players' Championship. Odds, Rory McIlroy leads the pack plus 700, John Rahm plus 1100, Justin Thomas plus 1400, Bryson DeChambeau plus 2000, and Dustin Johnson and Tommy Fleetwood at plus 2200.
Jump in there. I want to see where you're going this week.
God, I don't even like to do this anymore. I feel like I said, it's the thorn in my side. I've been so beat down.
This is the week.
By golf.
You were right last week not going with Tommy Fleetwood, so you can ride that little success.
I did. Yeah, okay, I'll just take that because I think I did say, I think he'll play good. It didn't happen. Rory McIlroy, however, did play some really great golf last weekend. Won this tournament last year, so it's no wonder he's at the top. I'm feeling that's my safe, comfortable bet right now, taking Rory to win. As for my top 10 long shot, I'm kind of looking at Bubba Watson at plus 1200. He's had 2 top 10 finishes so far this year. Waste Management, where he finished tied for 3rd, and then tied for 6th at the Farmers Insurance Open. So long shot, Bubba Watson top 10, and taking Rory to win. Rory's
a great bet, and honestly, it would not be surprising at all if he wins this tournament. The odds are just they're just not quite there. But I do like that pick. Well, here we go. Let's see if I can keep this golf heater going, coming off the Tyrrell Hatton win. Before I begin, though, I do want to issue a word of caution for this event. TPC Sawgrass is notorious for having a surprise winner, so it's often one of the harder tournaments to predict on the PGA season. Last year, everyone was all in on Paul Casey. He imploded to miss the cut. So with that out of the way, I normally target golfers in that 40-1 range, but this week I'm trending towards a couple of the mid-range favorites. I really like Patrick Cantlay at 28-1. He's been on the precipice of stardom for a while now with a couple of smaller tour wins, but this is his week. In his last 5 starts, finishing no worse than 17th. And with Cantley, it comes down to putting. So if he tames the greens, he has a great chance here. The other golfer with those odds, or around those odds, is Bryson DeChambeau at 20 to 1. One of the hottest players on tour with 3 straight top 5s. I think a win is just around the corner for this guy. If anyone can work the ball around a tough golf course with scientific precision, it is definitely the mad scientist. As for the long shots, I'll throw a couple your way. One of them is actually going to be my best bet of the week, but I'll save that. That's a nice little teaser for you guys at home. Russell Henley notched a top 10 a few weeks back. This week, I like him to finish top 20, and it pays 7 to 1. His putter is the big issue, and that's why the odds are so high, but he's among one of the world's best in approach shots, and that alone should keep him in contention. So Henley, top 20 at 7 to 1, and here we go. My best bet of the week, Daniel Berger to finish top 20 at 3 to 1. The American loves putting on this Bermuda surface. It is shown with 3 consecutive top 10s to his name. I'll have him at the top 20. A top 10 pays 6 to 1. I'm in on that. And a win pays 66 to 1 with the Florida swing coming to a close. I think Berger's game is rounded in form. He'll be contending for the title come Sunday afternoon. But my best bet is a top 20 finish, 3 to 1.
Wow. I could have sworn with a Berger we'd be approaching pun territory there.
Right? I was waiting.
That's a tasty pick.
When it comes to golf,
I got that one.
I don't have time for puns. I have time for wins, and wins alone.
If we review the footage, you've had lots of time for golf puns. So, fair enough.
Erroneous!
I am going to agree with Alece here. I desperately need to get my golf picks back on track. Adam, I mean, you've put us all to absolute shame these past few weeks in the links. It is redemption time. No more 90 to 1 Spanish long shots. It's not happening. I'm honing in here. I hate to do this because it's not going to make the headlines. It's not the sexiest pick, but I am going with Rory at plus 600. He has 6 top 5 finishes in a row, including a win at the HSBC. I was debating Justin Thomas, but he's been very up and down as of late, and I don't like what I'm seeing. I need some more consistency. It's not going to win hearts and minds, but yeah, the favorite Rory, not to mention 6 to 1 odds for a guy that's as close to a lock as you're going to find in this field. It's not that bad. As for my top 10 long shot, I'm going to Webb Simpson. He made the cut in Mexico, didn't have a great Sunday. Prior to that, had 5 top 10 finishes in a row, including a win in Scottsdale for the Waste Management. Also had 2 weeks off to adjust his game a little bit. A top 10, no problem, and that'll pay plus 400. So if you take these 2 bets, put them together, and they pay off for you, it's 10 to 1 odds. A nice little payout come Sunday evening.
Bet sandwich.
There it is. It's a tasty burger. I used it twice. That wasn't
Yeah, it was a little much.
I parlayed it.
Sticking with golf, the way too early Masters picks. Again, Rory McIlroy leads that pack at plus 650. Tiger Woods and Brooks Koepka at plus 1,000. John Rahm, Justin Thomas plus 1,200. DJ's at plus 1,400. And Xander Schauffele at plus 2,000.
So this one's interesting as well because of the news of the day where Donald Trump announced there is a travel ban between the U.S. and Europe for 30 days, the next 30 days. The Masters, as we record this, 28 days away. So a lot of European golfers are now up in the air as to whether they can attend this tournament or not. Most of them are in town for the Players' Championship, so that could kind of throw a wrench in a lot of people's plans. As for my picks, I might sound like a broken record when it comes to this prop because the golfers I like at the Players' Championship, I also really like at the Masters. I was all in on Patrick Cantley last year at 40 to 1 odds, and he nearly stole the victory from Tiger Woods. His eagle on 15 actually gave him the lead for about 5 minutes before Woods took over, and he cruised to the win. Don't want to talk about it. But it is a small glimpse of what Cantley can do, and he can handle himself on the golf's biggest stage. It was enough for me to buy more stock. His odds are currently 26 to 1. I think they fall way down as we get closer to Augusta, especially if he turns in an impressive performance at this weekend's Players. The other player, also one of my players' picks, Bryson DeChambeau. I placed a bet on Bryson to win the Masters back in December. His odds were 45 to 1. They're now down to 25 and 1, and they're falling. So, again, it is the trend where people are starting to stock up on DeChambeau. Nobody thinks the game like him. He dedicated his offseason to gaining muscle. So now he's crushing the ball with his newfound distance off the tees in prime position to take on Augusta, earn that green jacket. And my early long shot, found this today and I immediately jumped on it. The odds are way too high. Matthew Fitzpatrick is 81 to 1 right now. He made the cut in each of his last 4 appearances at Augusta, finished 7th place in 2017. Last year, overcame a disastrous opening round of 78 to grind his way back into contention for a top 25 finish. He's playing the best golf of his career. He has a legit chance to surprise. 81-1 is ridiculous. Hop in if you can get those early odds through WSN.com.
All right. I don't know. For me, there's just something about Tiger at the Masters. Like, I literally cried last year when he won. And I on and off the Tiger bandwagon, but it just felt good to watch him win. But much like you, I'm actually going to stick kind of the same, not exciting. Rory McIlroy has never won. He came close in 2011, but there was a pretty giant meltdown.
Giant's appropriate word.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna, with the way he's been playing this year, it's a huge tournament, and I think Rory's got a good chance. Rory.
Going with McIlroy, okay.
Yeah.
Sticking it out with Rory Mac.
He's my boy.
I like it. Okay. I'm going to be a little different here. He's still in the top 10 for odds here, so it's not the sexiest again. However, I am going to change it up from you guys a little bit. And I'm also avoiding the travel ban, so this pick will stand. We know that. In the year of 2020, my choice has gone tied for 55th. No, it's not Matsuyama. Cut. 9th at Pebble Beach, 59th, and tied for 58th in Mexico. So, is the resume on his side this year? No, it is not. But he's got a month to figure it out, and it's Jordan Spieth. Right now, he's paying plus 2,500, and for a guy that has the Augusta resume that he does, that's pretty damn good. Masters runner-up in 2014, wins the green jacket, of course, in 2015, leading by 5 strokes into the back 9. One of the larger Masters collapses, if you will, in 2016. That's okay, though. Tied for 11th in 2017, finishes 3rd 2018, posting one of the best final rounds in Masters history, by the way. 8 under 64, tied for 21st last year. But you can see by the track record, not too shabby. And if you just want to kind of play the odds, you want to feel a little bit better about your bet, right now, plus 550 for him to finish in the top 10. That is a pretty solid suggestion there. So right now, the way too early Masters pick, I like Jordan Spieth, even though his calendar so far this year looks absolutely terrible. But he'll pick it up. He'll put on the jacket again before he steps out there. He'll feel nice, little nostalgia, and he'll go out and dominate.
All right. Moving along to football, things are heating up heading toward free agency in the NFL. The New York Jets have cut failed project Jermaine Johnson, freeing up quite a bit of cap space, while the Giants have been rumored to be kicking tires on defensive end Jadeveon Clowney. We welcome Don La Greca of ESPN New York for his thoughts on the New York teams. Guys, I do want to hear which big names you think are going where as well. First, though, Don, who's going to make the bigger splash in the Meadowlands?
Well, Clowney would be like a must for them because it looks like they're going to miss out on getting Chase Young because they've got the 4th overall pick, and I'm not sure Tagovailoa is going to go to Washington. So without getting the edge pass rusher in the draft, they're probably going to have to dive into free agency. They've got some cap space. I think that's where the big splash is going to be. The Jets are kind of in a much better spot as far as where their roster is concerned. But they've got some restrictions. They've got to bring back Robbie Anderson. They got to take care of him. So I think the biggest splash, just because of the cap room and just how desperate the team is to get better after, only having 9 wins the last 2 years, I think it's going to be the Giants who make the bigger splash.
Well, there you go. And I completely agree. I mean, Don sees a lot of football out that way, talks a lot of football every day on the Michael Kay Show in New York. Very wise man, got the finger on the pulse of New York sports. So, and we've heard that rumor going around too about Jadeveon Clowney. For the longest time is, I love Seattle, this is great. And then as soon as the season comes to an end, it's like, where can I go next? And he would be a perfect fit with the Giants. That would work out very well. But I'm going to switch things up a little bit here because right now, we're sitting about maybe a week away or so, maybe a little bit less of the free agency props really starting to pop up throughout the internet. So, but there is a few out there at the moment that you can jump on. This is one of them, and it's the QBs lined up for Tom Brady's job if he does not decide to return to New England. And I like Teddy Bridgewater at plus 600. And now, he might be out there a little bit, but, pretty big shoes to fill, obviously, in New England. But Bill Belichick, he's known for picking up guys that the league pretty much forgot about. The ones that come to mind, Randy Moss, Ocho Cinco, last year, Sanu, Antonio Brown, even though that kind of failed, but could have been successful. I mean, Martellus Bennett, the list goes on. Teddy Bridgewater falls really into that mold, and I think he could do some damage there. I think he fits that system nicely. He could provide provide, some pretty good offense for that team. And the thing is the quarterback on that team doesn't need to be the best player week in and week out. Tom Brady he's usually very consistent, usually a very solid player, but he's not always the best guy on the field. I mean, you've got some weapons there. James White, Sony Michel, the ground game has really picked it up for him. So I think Bridgewater could fit that nicely. The other option there is Taysom Hill, a guy that's not listed yet on a lot of odds boards. But right now the Saints are looking for a first rounder for the restricted free agent. And I mean, right now the Pats are picking 23rd. That's a mean nothing. If you can get Taysom Hill for that, absolutely take a swing. So those are my two picks. But of course, I would rather see Tom Brady return to New England, because why would you jeopardize your entire legacy? And I do not want you to come to Los Angeles. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the free agency stuff, Don La Greca nailed a lot of it. I think I'm going to touch on the quarterback stuff, much like you did. A bit of a quarterback carousel in the coming weeks, I think. As Ryan mentioned, Brady and Bridgewater up for grabs. We could see new homes for Phillip Rivers, Jameis Winston, Ryan Tannehill. The Titans have made it very clear they want Tannehill back. Rivers and Winston are the real wild cards for me, and I'm kind of intrigued by the props out there of the Colts being linked to Rivers. They're obviously not quite sold on Jacoby Brissett, so if you can find those odds, I mean, it is still early. We're a few days away. But if you can track it down, Rivers to Colts.
Interesting.
Rivers to Colts.
Rivers to Colts. All right.
All right,
my band.
Let's stick with football. Ryan, you mentioned it. New odds have now been released for where Tom Brady is going to play next season. Patriots minus 150, Chargers plus 350, 49ers plus 800, Raiders plus 1,000, Buccaneers plus 1,400, retires plus 4,000.
Yeah, and I mean that should probably have lower odds, but but he said he wants to come back, so whatever. But I just have to emphasize, and I've done it in past weeks, I don't believe that you should put your money down on the LA Chargers here. Anthony Lynn, head coach, has a lot to say in the direction of that football team, and if you look at his resume, what he's done in Los Angeles, he brought in Cardale Jones, a guy that can use his legs a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not scorching the earth even in the XFL, but nonetheless, from there he moved on to Geno Smith, a mobile quarterback. Tyrod Taylor he brings in, mobile quarterback. Easton Stick, they go out and draft in the 4th round last year, another mobile quarterback. Guys that when they're forced out of the pocket can use their legs. Tom Brady is not that kind of guy. I personally believe, and I might be out to lunch here, but I personally believe that Anthony Lynn has just been waiting for the moment that Phillip Rivers says, I need to move on, because he needs some speed back there in the pocket, and Rivers is the exact polar opposite of speed. So anyhow, when it comes to Brady moving on, I think the only viable option here, if he's not going back to the Patriots, is San Francisco. If this guy just has a year, maybe 2 left in the tank, he's got to go to a contender. I don't know why he would go to a team that's a bubble team, or a team that is 5 years away from making any noise whatsoever. Word came out this week about the Buccaneers making a huge push for him, and they've got the cap space. Obviously, playing with Mike Evans would be a huge incentive. But what comes down to it, if they can move out Jimmy Garoppolo, or if they can just put him behind Jimmy and make some noise there for when Jimmy finally falters, which is coming, everything else just fits. So if he does move on, it's going to be San Fran. That's my take.
You're just so burned by Jimmy Garoppolo ruining you on all the WSN fantasy football shows.
It's an overrated quarterback.
And you learned that the hard way.
That's it. You're not wrong.
Yeah, rumors, rumbling, speculation, call it what you will, but it's been a fun off season to keep tabs on this whole Tom Brady situation. It's given Sports Talk Radio plenty of material. It's given us plenty of material to talk about, and otherwise a pretty slow spring for football news. As the days and weeks go on, I'm enjoying the increased chatter about where number 12 will go. Does he leave Foxborough? Does he head west? Mostly because it will lower the odds on a Pats return, and that's... well, I'll pounce. I'm going to pounce on that when the number's right. The Pats are currently minus 150. It's a really solid play. I don't see him bailing out on New England and possibly tainting his legacy. Unless Las Vegas makes a massive splash and they just back up the Brinks truck to his house, there's not really a situation where he leaves. So I'll be taking the Pats at minus 150, although I might wait a little bit longer, let the rumors flow in, keep tabs on WSN, and strike if that number trends a little bit higher.
Here's the question. When free agency does open, are you going to have a bet in place, or are you going to wait it out from there on?
I'm going to wait it out.
I think that's good.
I don't think he signs in any time.
Because he's going to shop.
Oh, big time.
Absolutely.
And the longer he shops,
Yep, those odds are going up. That's well played.
Yeah. Playoff hunt is heating up in the NHL. Future odds for long shot teams are starting to thin. So if you're looking to roll a dice on an outside pony, now's the time. We welcome back ESPN New York's Don La Greca to update us on an Eastern Conference dark horse, all of a sudden, the New York Rangers.
It's probably under 50-50 only because their schedule is such a beast, right? I mean, they got the second of back-to-backs tonight against Colorado. That's a real difficult situation. They probably didn't get into Denver until very late. That's a really difficult spot to be in. And then they got a couple of days off where you're taking on a desperate Arizona team, and they come back for Calgary and Pittsburgh, a Pittsburgh home and home. I was looking at the schedule of the 13 games they have left. There are only 3 games against teams that have less points than they do in the standings. But you saw what happened on Saturday when they took on one of those teams, New Jersey, and they lost. So I'm not saying they have to win out, but they're having to climb. You got Florida there, possibly Toronto. Then you've got Columbus and Carolina and the Islanders, and they really don't play any of those teams except for Columbus and Florida just once. I'd probably put the odds at about 40%.
All right, speaking of Eastern bubble teams, New York Rangers currently at plus 5,000, play Colorado, Arizona, and Calgary over their next 3. New York Islanders plus 5,000, have the Flames, Oilers, Penguins up next. Plus 5,000 Blue Jackets have the Penguins, Preds, and Bruins through their next 3. And then the plus 3,300 Carolina Hurricanes are going to face the Devils, Penguins, and Sabres in the coming days. Which of these 4 teams would you put your money on to be in a wild card spot this time next week?
Yeah, I don't know if I would put the money down at plus 5,000 for them to make the playoffs. I mean, you heard what Don was saying there. He makes some great points about the upcoming schedule, but the immediate schedule, the next 3 games, call me crazy, but I'm going to go with the New York Rangers. They've got one of the toughest of those 4 teams, mind you, but Colorado right now, without an injured Nate McKinnon, there's an opportunity. Arizona playing 500 hockey right now. They're not fooling anybody. There's another opportunity. Calgary trending in the right direction at the moment. You never know what team you're going to get with these guys. Not to mention, Rangers obviously playing some pretty inspired hockey at the moment. I mean, ever since that Mika Zibanejad 5-goal game, the country's attention has been on them. But they do have the best record of those 4 teams within the last 10 games respectively. So, yeah, I like the Rangers to improve their odds. I'd like them to be in a wild card spot come this time next week.
They're definitely one of the feel-good stories around the NHL, like Artemi Panarin, serious contention for the Hart Trophy if he can drag his team to the playoffs. As you mentioned, Zibanejad, man on fire since the All-Star break, especially that 5-goal performance. New York's really handled the passing of the torch in net very well, too, which is a sign of a close-knit team when Henrik Lundqvist has taken a backseat to these 2 young European goalies. However, as much as I like the Rangers, my pick will remain the Carolina Hurricanes. They're still my favorite. They have very winnable games against the Devils and Sabres on tap, and then that tough test against Sidney Crosby and the Penguins, but they should be able to secure at least 4 points out of those possible 6, and every point is golden this late in the season. Peter Mrazek back from a concussion, and after a slow start after being acquired at the trade deadline, Vincent Trocheck finally starting to click with his new team. Not to mention Sebastian Aho and Tero Teravainen, hardest name to pronounce in sports. They are 2 of the more underrated stars in the league. I think the Hurricanes, guys, they storm into the playoffs.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Yeah, blew me away.
I almost don't want to agree with you after that pun, but I'm going to agree with you. I think the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be sitting in a wild card spot come next week. XFL. What's your favorite game on week 6 of the XFL schedule? Let's go to the expert over there, Ryan.
Oh, I love the XFL. I have not done well with my XFL picks as of late. So I'm going to right this ship here, and I'm going to go with a game that is an absolute lock. Should this have been my best bet? Perhaps, but I'm taking the Houston Roughnecks over the New York Guardians. The spread is 6.5. I'm saying they will cover. I'm making the selection for reasons 3. A, Houston is undefeated and looking fantastic. B, the Roughnecks have 13 more touchdowns through 5 weeks of play than New York. C, taking this out of absolute spite for saying that football is back in New York after a week 1 win, and then they went on to put up a horrible 27-0 performance, huge goose egg loss to DC. No, never again. I won't do it again. I'm taking Houston.
Fire it up. Man, you almost talked me into wanting to join you on that one, but no, I don't quite trust him.
Don't trust
I'm pretty
him.
sure America's joining me on that one, but
I am most intrigued about this pending clash between the DC Defenders and the Dallas Renegades. DC currently favored by 4.5 points, and I am all in. Dallas perfect on the road, but with Landry Jones still hampered by a knee injury, the Renegades will have to turn to Philip Nelson again. He's been a disaster under center. His team's only put up 18 points on the board combined over the last 2 games. As for the Defenders, they're definitely a home team, outscoring the opposition 73-25 in their 3 victories. So chalk up another XFL win for Forsythe on the weekend, not only on the money line, but on the 4.5 point spread as well.
All right, head to WSN.com for tons of betting guides for beginners and anyone wanting to learn more about strategy and how sports betting works. This one seems fairly obvious. This next one, will Spike Lee attend another Knicks game this season?
Yeah, well, before I want to hear from the man himself, because he's the well-connected guy in New York. He talks to Spike. Should we check in with Don La Greca again?
Yeah, let's bring him back on here. Let's get Don's thoughts on Spike.
I think he is going to break that. We had him on our show, and I kind of gave him some heat. Like, you're not going to go the rest of this year, but you're going to go back. So why is it just so arbitrarily for the rest of this year? And I said, you're not going to go to the 50th anniversary of their first championship? And he's like, when's that? So I kind of heard him light up. So I have a feeling it's coming up in a couple of weeks, the 50th anniversary of their 69-70 championship. So since he kind of didn't rule out attending that, I'm probably going to put the odds on that he breaks his vow and he goes back. Interesting stuff.
Well, so this one really gets thrown into the air with the coronavirus.
Yes.
So it's, again, does he stay away when it resumes? Does he return? Mm-hmm. Do they even play the remaining 8 home games
have?
Yeah,
you're saying there should be an asterisk on that one.
There might be a bit of an asterisk on this one, but again, there is still odds out there where you can bet if Spike Lee attends a game. I love WSN because they keep coming up with these amazing bets you can track down. It's a case of 2 egos clashing in a very public showdown. I don't see how it ends well. I kind of actually disagree with Don on this one. New York only has 8 home games left, as I mentioned. The team, a disaster. Man, Spike, you've already stated that you're done with this team, and then what happens if you show up to another meaningless game and another lost season with the coronavirus hanging around? It's not going to happen. The value isn't the greatest, but you have to jump on the no train at minus 220. Jim Dolan has to be the worst owner in pro sports. It's a joke. The fact he's trying to go to war with arguably the team's biggest fan is such a New York Knicks thing to do. Apparently, the New York Knicks were one of the few teams in the NBA who were against suspending play as well. So they're just... Anyways, Spike has spent over $9 million on Knicks tickets, and the team thought it'd be a brilliant PR move to slap a team statement out there making fun of him. It's laughable. At the same time, the fact that Spike Lee thinks he should have open access to all parts of Madison Square Garden is also comical. Both guys, they need to check their egos. It's ridiculous. But for the sake of the bet, I hope they don't. I hope they hate each other for the rest of their lives, and I win at minus 220.
It's interesting. I'll go against you this one, just to play devil's advocate here. But, I mean, I agree on all counts when it comes to owner James Dolan there. But I don't see what this accomplishes. Yeah, there's 8 games, but, if we throw down a month of suspended play here, he's going to be itching to get back into that garden. I know it. So, and what's the point? Like, he said that he's going to be back next season. What does it accomplish not going to 8 home games? Like, who cares? At the end of the day, you've got the tickets. There's no point leaving the seats empty. Get back there. And not to mention, Don was saying, a huge anniversary game coming up with their first championship. So, I don't know how the betting minds, the odds makers, lines, I don't know how they're going to monitor this. It's probably impossible to do, but it pays $1.50 if somebody spots Spike Lee back in that stadium. So if he's incognito wearing a mustache or something, I don't know how they're going to do it, but it pays $1.50, and I'm taking the yes.
I think he's just going to be stubborn. I don't see Spike back in the arena at any point this season. Not happening. Head to WSN.com for expert online sportsbook reviews that let you compare all the best legal sports betting sites available in the United States. Let's end this on a high note. Gentlemen, the odds have been released for this weekend's 17th hole at the TPC out of Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, Justin Thomas, and Brooks Koepka. Who are you taking at plus 300 for a tee shot in the water?
Oh yeah, the last prop on the docket is the best bet, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going with Dustin Johnson. after that 17th, or sorry, there's the 18th, the meltdown at the U.S. Open at Chambers Bay years ago, he's looked disgruntled. Do I have, facts for that throughout the last few years? No, I don't. But his father-in-law is always judging him. Wayne Gretzky's always in his ear. And I think if anybody's going to spray, it's this guy. If anybody takes his mind off the game for 1 second, it's Dustin Johnson. I mean, of the field, of the few options we have, I got to say, Dustin Johnson looks like he's a little more in his head than the rest. So, yeah, I'm going DJ plus 300. Best bet, lock it in.
You clearly have not been watching my pick, Jon Rahm. Of all the players listed, he is the one golfer who can actually implode and break a club over his knee. We've seen it before. The pressure of 17 could easily get to him. Rory McIlroy had that viral video moment earlier this week where he bet a fan $50 that he would hit the green and did so, and then was nice enough to give the $50 back. Justin Thomas and Brooks Koepka, usually pretty clutch. DJ, I mean, we have seen some meltdowns, but I don't quite trust it. I think Jon Rahm falls victim to the island green at 17 at TPC because he's a crazy person.
I think you're wrong about that. But DJ for the win.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. Are we gonna end the show on my pun? No, can't be done.
It just doesn't seem
There's still
right.
time. There's still time.
No, I'm just gonna throw out Brooks Koepka because I feel like he's just been in a little bit of a slide lately, and just to go different from DJ and Jon Rahm, I'm gonna go with Brooks Koepka.
Adam said it earlier. TPCs where the unpredictable happens.
Exactly.
So could be BK putting it in the drink.
It could be. What if all of them do? Load up on bet on everyone.
Yeah, bet on everyone.
Those are pretty
Bet
good.
on everyone.
Right? A reminder, Real Money Daily Fantasy Sports are a great option for people living in a state where traditional sports betting isn't legal. Head over to WSN.com and they can set you up with links to DraftKings and FanDuel. Don't forget as well to go over to WSN.com as well as WSN's YouTube channel for tons of coverage on all sports. Make sure to like and subscribe to Prop Drop. For Adam Forsythe and Ryan Sullivan, I'm Alece Anderson, and we'll see you next week.